Okay, so different parts. Remember, you're going to have a vocabulary test on Monday over this. So the different parts, this line right here, this imaginary line is called your what?
Line of symmetry.
Or your axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry. Make sure you have this all filled out. And we said axis is just another word for a line. So if you're thinking about the x-axis, the line of x. If you're thinking about the y-axis, the line of y. This point right here is called your y-intercept. I don't know how I'm writing sideways, but your y-intercept is also known as your starting point. Starting point, okay? Now, these two boxes are both pointing to the same point, but they both represent two different things. What do they represent? No. X-intercept. It's your x-intercept. Now, your x-intercept can be known as three different things. What are they? Roots, solutions, and also zeros. Now, which one's the more popular one? Your zeros. All right. Now, it's also pointing to what? Our vertex. And our vertex is considered our what or our what? Our lowest or our highest point, our maximum or our minimum for vertex. It can be our maximum if it's considered a high point, or it could also be considered our minimum when it is a low point. Now, in this particular example, is it are we looking at a maximum or a minimum? Minimum, because if you look at the title, we're talking about a roller coaster's path. It's going down low. It's going down low, okay? Another thing, nope. All right, moving on. Okay, so x-intercept, your zeros, it's only crossing or touching the x-axis how many times? One time. So it's only crossing one time, and then it's crossing at the point 20, 0. Okay. Remember, when you have an x-intercept with a parabola, you have one of three options. Either it's not going to have any roots. Now you do have a little bit of space here to the side, so I'm going to draw some mini graphs. Okay, so this is my x and my y-axis. If my parabola does not touch the x-axis, that means there is no roots. Okay, if we have one root, you should be drawing this. If you have one root, it's only going to touch the x-axis one time at the tip. Okay, and if you have two roots, your parabola is going to be crossing the x-axis in two spots. 1, 2 spots, or it only touches in one spot. Let me zoom in for those of you in the back. If there's no roots, that means it's not going to touch the x-axis at all. One root, it'll touch one time. It'll touch at the minimum or at the maximum. And most of our parabolas will have two roots. They will have two x-intercepts, but those are the only three options. Now your y-intercept, you will only ever be able to have one y-intercept, no more than one, okay? And it is where it crosses the y-axis. So since it's crossing right here, or it's touching here, then my y-intercept is 0, 25, okay? We just said that the roller coaster is going down low, so we have a minimum. That lowest point is the vertex. The vertex is 20, 0. And we just said that the axis of symmetry, since it is a vertical line, but it is a line, you can only notate it one way, by giving an equation. That equation always starts with x equals. Axis of symmetry, your line of symmetry, always has to start with x equals. You cannot just give me a number. But my axis of symmetry, I know that the line of symmetry goes through the middle. What else is in the middle? What other point will always be in the middle? What other point will always be in the middle? The vertex. I had to circle it for you guys to tell me. The vertex. The vertex is always in the middle. In this case, the root is in the middle, but that doesn't always happen because look, if you have 2 points, the roots are on the side. It's not in the middle, but the vertex will always be in the middle. So x is equal to 20. Your axis of symmetry will always match up with the x value of the vertex. Your axis of symmetry will always match up with the x value of the vertex. Now, one thing I did not teach you before, but I'm going to go ahead and work that in, is on the STAR test, they could also ask you for a minimum or a maximum value. Minimum or a maximum value. That means they want one single number. How high or how low does this roller coaster go? We're talking about height. Which axis helps you with the height? Which axis determines the height of an object? Always the y-axis. We started this high and we went this low. So even though you see the number 20, how low did the roller coaster go? All the way to the number 0. It started at 25 feet or 25, I don't know, 25 feet, and it went down to the ground. The ground is not 20, the ground is 0. So my minimum value is 0. The minimum or the maximum value will always be the y value. They're asking for the y value because these types of questions will be gridables, okay? Now we're still covering characteristics. Let me move over to my other tab. We're still covering characteristics, but I wanted to work in some problems where you have a graph that has a title, because usually these graphs come along with a whole paragraph. And what happens when we see a paragraph? You don't even do it, even though it could be 100% easy to do. But you don't do it because you see a paragraph you don't want to read, you're too lazy, and you move on. And you miss out on some easy points. Now, one thing about real world problems or problems that have a graph and the graph has a title, if the graph has a title, 90% of the time, you're only going to be dealing with the first quadrant. You're only going to have positive numbers. Can anybody tell me why I would not have negative numbers for my x-axis? Why do you think you would not have negative numbers from the x-axis? Look at the title. We're talking about the height of a golf ball on the moon. How long it takes to hit the ground. We start at this height. We started at 60 and then it goes up and then it goes all the way down to 0. It hits the ground. So why wouldn't we have negative numbers for the x-axis? What's up? Not because it's not going backwards. Think about it. Time. Why wouldn't you have negative numbers? You cannot go back in time. As many movies as they've made about it, you cannot have negative amount of seconds. Okay. Now, why can't we go into the negatives for the y-axis? Why don't I have negative numbers for the y-axis? Why don't I have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5 down here? Why do you think? You cannot go underground. If you hit a golf ball on the moon, it's not going to go into the ground. You don't have negative amount of yards or negative amount of meters in this case, okay? Now, anytime as well, anytime that you have a title, you always want to look at the increments because the boxes don't always count for one. If you look at your x-axis, we're counting by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But look at, pay attention and be careful. Look at the y-axis. We're not counting by ones. How many are we jumping by? We're jumping by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20. So you want to pay very close attention to that, whether we're talking about quadratic, whether we see a parabola or it's a straight line whenever we have linear function, okay? Everybody see this f of x right here? So f of x is no different than having what letter here or what variable? Y. This is just another way to label that y-axis. Just another way to label the y-axis, trying to throw you off as always, okay? Zeros. Let's go ahead and start finding these characteristics. Zeros is another word for your x-intercept. Now, once again, I can have no x-intercepts, I can have one x-intercept, or I could have two. How many do I have in this graph? I only have one, and where is that? It's at the 15, but the point or the coordinate, the ordered pair is what? 15, 0. 15, 0. Okay, this is an order. You know what? We're actually going to write this because I've had a lot of people make this mistake today. An X and a Y value. This is called a what? Two different words. They could ask you for the ordered pair. What ordered pair? We can go ahead and include that, but there's actually one more. Coordinate. And coordinate is a word that you're going to see a lot on your assignment today. I've had a lot of x equals something when it clearly says what is the coordinate for the x-intercept? What is the coordinate for the y-intercept? Coordinate, they're asking for the ordered pair. They're asking for the point. You have to give me an x and a y value, not x equals, okay? Everybody has those? All right, y-intercept. How many y-intercepts do we have? Just one. What is that y-intercept? Where is it? It's at the 60, and you write it as 0, 60, not 60, 0, 0, 60. All right. Now we hit a golf ball on the moon. Did it go up high or did it go down low? It went up high. That means we're dealing with a maximum. It went up high. Now, if they ask me for that maximum value, if we're asked for the value, how high did it go? Height, 80, yes. No, you were right, 80. It started at 60. It started at 60, but it went as high as what? 80. So the maximum value is 80. 60 is my starting point right there. Okay. Now the vertex. You give the vertex as a coordinate, as an ordered pair. What is the ordered pair for the vertex? What is the ordered pair for this point? Not 0, 80. Stop guessing.
Oh, no.
If I go straight down from that point, it lines up with what x value? 5. If I go straight across, it lines up with what y value? 80. So the ordered pair is 580. 580. And last but not least, the axis of symmetry. Your axis is a type of line. Since it is a line, it must be written as what? X equals. Now, even though there's a question on the assignment that says, write the equation of the axis of symmetry, I still have people giving me the ordered pair for the vertex. No, axis of symmetry, X equals. Now the axis of symmetry goes through what? It goes through the vertex. So I should automatically know, even if I don't draw it, that it goes through what number? 5. The x value of the vertex, 5, 5. That should match. But if I have to draw it, I just simply split my parabola in half. Okay, and it goes through the 5. Ready? Questions? Okay. The second graph is of a goalie kicking the soccer ball down the field as far as possible. So let's start with our zeros. Our zeros are our what? X-intercepts. How many do I have? I have 2. So give me one of those ordered pairs. All right, give me the other coordinate. 12, 0. It also touches at 12, 0. Touches at 0, 0 and 12, 0. What about the y-intercept? 0, 0. Since it starts in the center, starts at the origin, 0, 0. Now, when I kick this ball, is it going to go up high or is it going to go down low? It's going to go up high. So we're dealing with a maximum. But my maximum value is what? 9, correct. 9, it goes as high as the number 9. Okay. What is the ordered pair for the vertex though? 6, 9. 6, 9. My x value is 6. My y value is 9. All right, last but not least, the axis of symmetry. My axis of symmetry is my line of symmetry. It must be an equation. That equation always starts with x equals, and x equals what number? 6. X equals the x value of the vertex. What's up? Yep, it's always going to match, just like the maximum or minimum value will always match as well. But that part, I don't want to overwhelm you with little tricks like that just yet. So let me go over a couple of things on the assignment before I give it to you. I'll leave these little notes up here. Number 1, we just talked about it. When I'm asking for the maximum value, I'm asking for what? I don't want an answer. I want the explanation. If I'm asking for the maximum value, I'm asking for which value?
Oh, it's
Y value. How Y value? How high does it go? How high does it go? We're looking for the Y value. And I need you guys to see the difference here. Axis of symmetry, line of symmetry. So there should be a what here before you put a number? X equals. There better be an X equals, because if I see just a number, I'm going to count it wrong. Now, some questions directly ask you what the x-intercept is, but this one's not asking what the x-intercept is. It says function P has exactly blank zeros. What do you think they're asking for? The quantity, how many? They want to know how many zeros. How many times does it cross the x-axis? Quantity, okay? Look here. Here they're directly asking for the x-intercepts. It says they're located at. So here they do want the coordinate. And since there's 2 x-intercepts, they want both coordinates. Coordinate's another word for a point, for an x and a y value. Make sure you are reading these questions because my 5th period did not. Y-intercept, coordinate, x and y value. The back side of this is over here. Hold on. So it asks for how many zeros? Give me the zeros. Okay. All right. So go ahead and